All right, gentlemen, what's your favorite moment in that new Obi Wan Kenobi trailer? Samuel the Hutt, you go first.
Got to be when you hear Vader's breathing and you see that freaked out look on Obi-Wan's face.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. BB Nate, what about you?
I'd have to say the hallway scenes reminds me a lot of Daredevil. I'm super excited about this show.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about you, Dad?
Owen's brutal comeback was all I needed to see to get me pumped.
Yeah.
We'll dive into the trailer along with the finale of Moon Knight, and we'll see if BB Nate's worries about Doctor Strange 2
There you go.
were warranted. This is Tatooine Sons.
It's true. All of it.
What is the name of the porg on the Millennium Falcon?
Force is strong in my family.
What do you think his name is? It's a big moment.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Maybe Turbis?
Do or do not. There is no try.
Turbis? Pablo, if you're listening to this live stream, that porg's name is now Turbis. It's a good Star Wars name.
We're not done yet.
These guys recorded an awesome podcast called Tatooine Sons. Everybody listen to that.
Thank you.
Straight A's in college for the semester.
Yes, sir.
16-year-old BB Nate over here with A's in web design and
Graphic design.
Congratulations. That's
Good job,
good.
Nate.
Got an A on that project. You did a Dune book cover.
It was 96%, and I'm like, that should have been 100. But
It was pretty good. I saw
and
it.
Sam, you eked out that A in circus.
did.
I have no idea how that one happened.
Proof that there's a God in heaven.
Yes.
All right. Welcome to Tatooine Sons, a pop culture podcast, the only fan podcast to name a canon Star Wars creature and to be endorsed by the writer-director of The Last Jedi, Rian Johnson. We believe that pop culture is the mythology of our generation, that there is a story, it is written on our souls, and that these myths speak to that story. And that is why we are talking about the new Obi Wan Kenobi trailer, the finale of season 1 of Moon Knight, hoping we're getting a season 2.
they keep calling it season finale.
They do, yeah. And our reaction to Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I am David. I am the dad.
Hi, Dad.
Hello, gentlemen. Every week I get thrown off by that. I'm honored to be joined every week by my two amazing sons, Samuel the Hutt. You've got some thoughts on Moon Knight?
Yeah, I don't think they could have made that episode any better.
All right. That's pretty,
Yeah, that's
a bold statement. All right.
Bold, yeah.
BB Nate, the world is waiting.
Yes, you can all breathe easy. That movie was a lot of fun.
Oh,
Very
wow.
good. Yes. What are you talking about, Dad?
It looks like Obi Wan Kenobi is getting uncivilized.
Oh, yeah, I noticed that.
In this. Thank you guys so much for following the show. Make sure that you check it out on whatever app that you're listening to us on and subscribe or follow or whatever it is on that app so that you can continue to get updates about every new episode. If you don't have an app that you use regularly, maybe you're trying it out for different things, check out Newsly. It's an all-in-one audio super app for iOS and Android. And what it does is it also picks up web articles about the most trending topics on the web at any given moment and reads them to you in a natural human voice. You'll learn a little bit more about that later on in the show. Do want to make sure that you understand about a little change in the show format just due to scheduling conflicts, work stuff, everything else going on. We are going to put a pause on the Friday interview episodes for the time being. Not that we don't enjoy doing that. And I know that you guys have enjoyed listening to it because we've got lots of comments from you guys on that. But just based on trying to maintain schedule stuff, we're going to continue to do our Tuesday episodes here, but the Friday episode will be paused for the time being. But that doesn't mean we don't want to also have some fun things going on. So if you're going to be at Star Wars Celebration, the big meetup is Wednesday, May 25th, right at Biggs Fullerton. We'll be joining about 500 plus other Star Wars super fans to kick off Star Wars Celebration.
Yeah.
And we'll also be commemorating Samuel's 21st birthday with you guys there. And it's going to be part of the massive Bunta Eve Cantina. Some of the people that will be there are Misty Rosas. She's the performance artist for Queel in The Mandalorian season 1. And she also played Frog Lady in season 2. So happy Mother's Day, Misty. for Frog Lady. Dominic Pace, Gecko from The Mandalorian. He's going to be there. He's also going to be at Daniel Logan's booth all throughout Star Wars Celebration. And I think on Saturday he's going to be in full costume about that. That's going to be awesome. Leilani and Ariel Shui from The Mandalorian. They played Jawas in that. We've got Chubway from The Return of the Jedi, Kevin Thompson, another Jawa from A New Hope, Tim Donaldson, and then Mace Tawani from Caravan of Courage and Ewok Adventure. The actor Eric Walker will be there, and then lots of other favorite podcasts and Star Wars creators and everything else going on. So I think that's going to do it. It's probably time to stop talking about what we're going to talk about and talk about what we're talking about.
There you go.
Man, I'm doing good. Once I got through that too in the intro, we're doing good. The true. We predicted it would happen, but when the new trailer for Obi Wan Kenobi came out on Star Wars Day, I'm sure even Anakin Skywalker winced at how badly Obi-Wan got burned in that one scene.
Bulky religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid.
Rebellions are built on hope.
Force is with me, and I am with the Force.
If you live long enough, you see the same eyes in different people.
So everybody's kind of losing their minds right now because the panel lotteries open up on Thursday morning on Star Wars Celebration. And you have to have your badge activated in order to participate in
people
that.
Aren't having their
and
have
people
our badges.
Can't get their badges activated because the website doesn't allow the badges to be activated yet. So people are freaking out about that. And I'm sitting there just going, I'd like to have my badge right now.
I agree.
So we'll be reaching out to Star Wars Celebration and getting some feedback here on that. But I'm sure we'll get it all worked out.
We will.
We better.
It's like this
I
every
want my
celebration.
tickets refunded.
Yeah, your free media passes. All right. I know it's kind of hard to pitch a fit about because you're getting to go for free. All right. I want to get your one word reaction to this. I guess the first one was considered a teaser.
Yes, this is the trailer.
So this is the trailer for
Obi-Wan. I think was shorter than the first.
No, I think it was longer.
Really?
With it. Yeah. BB Nate, what was your one word reaction to this Obi-Wan Kenobi trailer?
Exciting. Very exciting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right. Samuel the Hutt, what was yours?
I'm going to give it promising. I'm going to say promising.
Promising. I'm curious to hear what that means. Mine is, I like, I'm envisioning, is it Michael Fassbender?
Yeah. His Magneto.
His Magneto perfection. With that, when I thought about this, yeah, it is good. Let's talk a little bit about kind of walk through this. I mean, it's not necessarily in order of the trailer, but some of the big moments in that, I'm sure we're going to have some fun conversations with this. I've been looking forward to this conversation. The first thing that we see in the trailer is, we see that sort of Coruscant looking planet. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, with some Inquisitors, but then we immediately go to a scene where the Grand Inquisitor and the fifth brother and another Inquisitor that we now know the name of, Reva, are walking obviously down the streets of Mos Eisley on Tatooine. And we learned, a lot about what's going on with the Inquisitors in this. If you take a second to stop at and watch this trailer and break it down, like, Star Wars Explained and New Rockstars and all these guys did. My question is, or my thoughts on them being on Tatooine here is it would be very unlikely that they know that Obi-Wan Kenobi is there on the planet, because otherwise
Vader
he can't continue to hide on the planet later. So, I'll start with you, Samuel. Are you surprised they've come to our favorite Star Wars planet?
Yeah, it is a little weird. I don't know why they could be there. Obviously, they're not there for Luke, and they're obviously not there for Obi-Wan. So who else is on Tatooine that would draw them there?
Well, there's the actor in Eternals that's in this that a lot of people thought he was going to be playing a droid, like a CGI droid, kind of like what happened with Phoebe Waller-Bridge and Alan Tudyk. These comedic actors tend to play droids that are CGI'd.
Right.
And so a lot of people expected him to be playing a droid in this, but he's not. And when you see him, he's got very Jedi-looking robes. In this one. So it could be that he's on the run from that. Sam or BB Nate, why do you are you surprised at all that they've come to Tatooine?
Not really. I expected them to come to Tatooine. Why they're at Tatooine? That's the question. I think that's really hard to really get an answer for, but I do think that they're at Tatooine just for following a lead for somebody else, for another Jedi, like that Jedi that could be there. I don't think that they're there for Obi-Wan at all, but I do think we will see a lot of confrontation between Owen and the Inquisitors.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. The confrontation was, honestly, I know I teased it in the opening to the show with this, but that was like the best moment, and that's the moment that interaction between those two. It's been something I've been looking forward to to happening in this series almost as much as wanting to see Vader and Kenobi go at each other. So there's this scene, and I know everybody that's listening to this podcast, I'm sure, has seen this, but Owen says, "Leave us alone." He's like pushing back on Kenobi, and Kenobi then responds. And I'm not sure that the dialogue is exactly the way it is in the real show.
It's a classic Disney editing.
It did feel a little bit like that, but then Kenobi responds in the trailer, "When the time comes, he must be trained," obviously talking about Luke Skywalker, right. To which Owen then responds, like, "You trained his father?" And then you cut back to Kenobi, and it's like, it stings. You can see it in his face. Now, when we see this, or when this series takes place, Luke is about the same age as Anakin was when Obi-Wan first landed on Tatooine in The Phantom Menace. They're about 9-10 years old. So my question is, why has he waited this long to begin Luke's training?
I think that it's because he's still worried about how he can do it. He did fail the first time around. He didn't successfully create a Jedi Knight or a Jedi Master even.
He did create a very successful Jedi Knight.
Oh, well, one that turned to the dark side.
That's true.
And he does blame himself for that.
And he was, he was on the Jedi Council. He just wasn't given the rank of Master.
But
take a seat.
He still blames himself. And so I think he's waiting to make sure that he has the right time. And I'm sure that it's a lot of self-doubt. And I think I hope we see Qui-Gon. I know that Liam Neeson said he would only reprise his role if it's a movie, but I hope that that's just him trying to get the trail off of that.
Maybe an Andrew Garfield,
because I really do want to see Liam Neeson reprise his role as Qui-Gon, at least Force Ghost, or even a voice for Obi-Wan, telling him about training. And then I want to see an argument between Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon about whether or not Luke needs to be trained. That would be absolutely amazing. I cannot wait.
That would be awesome. What do you think, Sam?
Yeah, I think Nate's got a point. I think there's that self-doubt that he's dealing with right now. But I think this isn't the first time Owen's pushed back against Obi-Wan training, and I'm sure that's caused difficulty. I mean, Luke still hasn't been trained by episode 4, and how old is he in that? 17?
He's 19.
19? Okay. That's a ways after. And
he's a whiny 19, but he's 19. So.
Yeah. He takes after his father.
That's right.
But, he knows of Ben at that point, but he's more like just he's that old crotchety man who lives down the street, basically. So I think it's largely just Owen's wishes against it that's holding him back right now. And I think we'll see that even more so in the series.
That's awesome. Now, of course, we can't skip over the Inquisitors because they are a huge part of this trailer. And it seems that these Inquisitors are completely obsessed with finding Kenobi. But one detail that seems to me to be especially curious is this. All the other Inquisitors are labeled with the brother or sister numerical distinction. The 5th brother, the 2nd sister, the 9th sister, that type of thing. The 7th sister, right. But there's one in this series known simply as Reva. Why do you think we know her name?
I really have no clue, because even after reading the Darth Vader comic, I forget what it is called, but
Dark Lord of the
Sith. Where it shows us him forming the Inquisitors. We don't really learn why they're named what they are. And, excuse me, I forgot to sneeze.
Oh, no worries.
Bless you. There we go. Get
Woo!
it out.
All right, better. None of them are given names, and we're not sure why they're given the titles they are. So I don't know. I mean, do we even know the names of any of the Inquisitors?
No, but they've never been named other than those numerical
Not even the one in Fallen Order? Because I'm pretty sure she had a name.
That's second, right?
We know her name before.
Yeah, we know her name before because she was under
the master you're with.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is she the second or the seventh?
I thought she was. I'm pretty sure she's second.
She's the second.
Okay.
Seventh, I think, was in Rebels.
Okay.
But this very well could just be her name as is. And maybe she can only earn her title once she's killed a Jedi or something. I don't know if that's maybe like a rite of passage.
That's what I was going to say. I think that it's just because she hasn't proven herself yet. I think that we might be taking a little bit of a path away from the Dark Lord of the Sith comic. And this is a few years after that. So there's definitely very well could have increased the rules for the Inquisitors because Darth Vader is now fully leading them. So he decides what they do. I mean, he even cut off a few of the limbs of them to teach them a lesson in the comic series. So he's very brutal. He's very brutal with the training of the Inquisitors. So I could see them making it to where you have to kill a Jedi to get your title and have your place as an Inquisitor.
It's like a fraternity pledge or whatever.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
Way more murderous.
But I've got a completely different read on this character from the trailer. I get this idea that she's almost at a higher ranking, or almost like she's more in charge than the others.
She seems more reckless than everybody else, though.
I think she's obsessed with Kenobi. And I think that that's because maybe we know who she is because she's there's this interaction with Kenobi, and Kenobi remembers her from before
that could be
as a youngling or a Padawan or something like that, because we know that these Inquisitors all were either Jedi Knights or Force users within the Jedi Order, like Temple Guards. Even the Grand Inquisitor was one of the Temple Guards from the trial of Ahsoka. In the Clone Wars, and we're going to see more about him in Rebels later, in the timeline as well. But, I think that's interesting. And then also she seems, she calls out to Kenobi, like she knows him, with this maybe at one point in there. So, let's talk a little bit about some of those Rebels connection, because we've got the fifth brother, in that. And then there's I'm confused. Which one was it from Rebels? Was it the second or the seventh?
I think it was seventh. I'm not.
It was the seventh.
Sure.
Okay, the seventh sister.
Sure. Yeah.
So, Star Wars Rebels begins just about 5 years after the events of this Kenobi series, and at that time, the Inquisitors never mentioned Kenobi, and that it doesn't seem like there's any concern about him at all in Star Wars Rebels from the Inquisitors' perspective. And then in A New Hope, Tarkin seems surprised when Vader brings up Kenobi. At that point, do you think that this series could see Obi Wan Kenobi faking his death to throw off Vader?
I think that is very possible. I think that that's a great way to change how they see this character, because they don't really. I mean, even in A New Hope, Vader talks about feeling a presence he hasn't felt in a long time and all that stuff. So it's obviously a shock to him that he is there. So I do think that he could fake his death, but then again, I don't know if that would throw Vader off enough. But there also could be some strange things that goes on with Vader about Kenobi.
Yeah, I think he almost has to fake his death to make it make sense, him coming back in episode 4. That's been one of my concerns with this series from the start, is that interaction that him and Vader have in episode 4. They have to end this series in such a way that meeting has its same weight or same feeling or whatever. So I think that will result in Obi-Wan faking his own death. As to how he's able to live back on Tatooine without causing any issues, I don't know. But maybe that's why, why he's so ready to get off planet after he brings out his lightsaber there in that cantina. He's like, well, cover's blown again. I got to get out of here, because now they really are going to be able to figure out who this is, because I've been here before.
In A New Hope.
Right, in A New Hope. That's what I was meaning. So yeah, I think that's going to end up happening.
I'm not sure, the more I think about it, that we're going to see Vader be victorious. I think that if we follow sort of the George Lucas, it's poetry, it rhymes type thing, we have Obi Wan Kenobi defeating Vader in episode 3 on Mustafar. And in episode 4, we have Vader defeating Obi-Wan at this. So it would make me tend to fall that it's considered a draw.
I agree.
In this one, and that adds, it doesn't change then the impact of the statement by Vader in A New Hope of, the last time we met, you were the master and I was the apprentice, or that type of thing. If we can make that, work like that. But I do think it's interesting. Something's going to have to happen to throw off the Empire and to get Kenobi out of mind, in order to not negatively impact the, scene that you're talking about in A New Hope, with that. There's some bounty hunters all over this. First of all, we got the, that wanted poster, that like digital, wanted poster with the Arabesh, all on it, which basically, has Obi Wan Kenobi's name, and it says that, he's being, there's a bounty for him. He's wanted for high treason, with that. And so we've got that, but then also we have 4LOM, which, do you guys remember 4LOM at all?
Yeah, I always thought it was 4LOM.
Okay, well, I mean, you can Wikipedia,
yes.
which is where I found this. They say that the proper pronunciation of that, as well as when I watched the Star Wars Explained with Alex Damon, he pronounced it 4LOM. Okay. Now, Eric Voss on New Rockstars and some of the other videos that I watched, they pronounced it 4LOM with that. But
I've
anyway,
heard it both ways.
AT-AT.
Yeah, it's right. Exactly. It says that 4LOM on Wikipedia, the description of him was that he was an ambitious.
That's a new one.
An ambitious one.
I've not heard that.
It's a new word. He was an ambitious LOM series protocol droid who overrode his programming and became a galactic thief, and then later a bounty hunter. He often worked together with Gand Feinsman Zuckuss. Following the Battle of Hoth, both 4LOM and Zuckuss were hired by the Sith Lord known as Darth Vader to capture Han Solo, the captain of the Millennium Falcon and hero of the Alliance, to restore the Republic. However, the bounty on the smuggler's head was instead claimed by the infamous Boba Fett.
Yeah.
And Boba Fett had about as much presence in this trailer as he did in his own series. Anyway,
I was waiting for it.
Anyway, so the inclusion of the bounty hunters
hurt anymore.
Exactly. That's right. You're numb to it. The inclusion of bounty hunters in this series seems very intentional to me. Any chance we see any connections from the Mandalorian in this series?
I don't know how he really could. It's too much of a time difference, I think. The only droid I can imagine seeing show up is IG-11, but before then, I feel like we need to see IG-88, So, I don't really think we're going to see any connections like that. I can't think of any long-running bounty hunters that could have been active then and still active in Mandalorian other than Boba Fett. And was he even doing bounty hunting at this point?
We don't know his story in between here yet.
So I'm not sure we really see any direct connections at this point. Maybe Grief Karga.
That would be the only thing, but I don't think we see any major connections to Mandalorian. I feel like we need to distance ourselves from Mandalorian a little bit.
I agree.
I think that Star Wars is starting to fall back into the point where there has to be one storyline going on at the same time, like Skywalker Saga and now the Mandoverse and all this stuff. I think we need to have a couple different things going on at different times so that people can follow and theorize about two different timelines that they can just have fun with. And so instead of having to follow like what's going to happen next in this big grand scheme of things, no, just have little stories here and there. And we're done with the Skywalker Saga. Let's expand the universe instead of having to follow Mandalorian again.
It would not bother me in the least to have a small scene when the bounty hunters are being brought into this storyline where you see a de-aged Carl Weathers as Grief Karga functioning as a bounty hunter, not the head of the bounty hunter guild.
Right. Where
we see why he has the reputation in the Mandalorian that he has. I'd be cool with that. I'd even be cool if they threw in a Boba Fett moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fine. You just have them in there for about as long as 4LOM was in
exactly
Empire, just like that.
I was gonna say Moff Gideon, but I feel like that'd be too soon.
Well, Moff Gideon isn't a bounty hunter.
Yeah, he's.
I was just saying.
We're not even sure what he's doing.
To Mandalorian.
That'd be cool to see him.
Yeah.
With it. Let's talk about some of the locations in this trailer. The first one we have is Dayu, and Joby Harold, who's I think he's one of the writers or producers or directors or somebody. I don't know. I can't remember.
He's involved with it.
He confirmed this with Entertainment Weekly. He teased that the new planet has, in his quote, has a Hong Kong feel to it. A graffiti-ridden nightlife is kind of edgy. It's just got a different lane and a different feeling to it.
It feels like the planet from the beginning of Mandalorian season 2. If we're being honest.
Where the Gamorreans are battling?
That description seems exact same.
Oh, yeah. Where he strings the guy up.
Yeah,
by the
and we
light or
never
whatever.
got the name of that planet.
That could be a cool Mandalorian
little type of connection.
Yeah,
not a huge one,
it just
but something.
Shows that this is all the same universe. Yeah, I like that.
That would be cool. Now, we have another planet on there, and this one's got a lot of ties to it. It's Nur, and it's where
has this been confirmed?
It is.
Wow.
And this is where the Fortress Inquisitorius takes place. And this is going to be a new location for a lot of fans. For me, it will be, but for those who played Jedi Fallen Order, it's one that has major importance. So you guys go ahead and spoil it for everyone. I haven't let you guys do it up to this point. Go for it.
Nate,
all right.
you first.
So the Fortress Inquisitorius is kind of the main home of the Inquisitors, and so Cal Kestis goes there. I don't remember the exact reason why he goes there. I think it's because the Inquisitor got the holocron. And
I think he's trying to save her because he's convinced that she can turn her back. He can turn her back.
And that's the second sister.
Yes.
Okay.
And so he goes there and he's just not walking around. He goes through whole mind games and stuff. And
it's trippy.
It's trippy. And then he gets to the final boss battle, and the Inquisitor, which he fights after a little bit, is killed by Darth Vader.
Wow. Why does Darth Vader kill her?
Because she was
working with him to some extent, or weak, or whatever.
She could have turned there. So he just killed her.
And then you have to run away.
And then you have to run away from Darth Vader. And it's terrifying because you can't fight him at all, or you will die and you'll have to start over again.
If there was any way for Cal Kestis to beat Darth Vader, then the game becomes a complete joke.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can't beat Vader.
You approach him, he just kills you. You slow down enough, he will kill you.
That's awesome.
Terrifying. But the whole Inquisitor
is that a fun character?
It's
fun
terrifying. It's great. But the whole fortress collapses at that point. It all malfunctions and everything, and so the whole place is collapsing while you're trying to run away from Vader.
So the scenes in Jedi Fallen Order take place after Kenobi.
This.
Okay, so I saw somebody that thought that one of the Inquisitors in this war room looking place, on Nur, they show a scene. One of them looks like it could be the second sister.
I'll have to rewatch
that.
It very well could be because that's where the home base is. So
and it works for the timeline.
And it wouldn't surprise me if we got some stuff. Maybe the ninth sister.
That's the big one, right?
That's the big one. We could see that too in this story. Because she is killed.
She's the one that's the beast, right?
Yes.
That she could be killed after the fact, and she is killed in Fallen Order, but she could still show up in this since the events take place before. Unless they rebuilt, but I don't think that they would have because that would.
It doesn't seem like this is a rebuilt thing.
Now.
I know it's great.
I'm not gonna go to pre-down.
Now that you're not doing
I think that
school till 10, 11 o'clock every night.
I think they did have a PS5 upgrade to it, so that'd be cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. So what are your thoughts on Nur?
No, I think it's cool that we're seeing this location in a more general setting, I guess. It's a cool place. It's got a very Vader's castle feel to it.
Just on water.
It's the inverse. So I think it's cool, and hopefully we get to see a little bit more than what you see as, Cal Kestis, and maybe a little bit more of the backstory as to why it exists. Because I mean, they may have gone into the game, but I don't remember off the top of my head. So yeah.
So there are some moments in this trailer where it looks like there's Purge Troopers, first of all.
Yes.
From Jedi Fallen
Purge Troopers or Death Troopers? Because
which ones are from Jedi Fallen Order?
That's
Purge.
They're
Purge Troopers.
I saw
they look
they're Purge
do they have
Troopers.
red eyes?
Yes, I mean they were confirmed to
that's
be Purge Troopers.
Yeah,
nice.
From Jedi Fallen Order, and you see stormtroopers looking like they're on the Fortress Inquisitorius. I think that's what it's called. Like they're drawing their weapons and things like that. Do you think that we see Obi Wan Kenobi go there?
I do. I really do. Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I think it's very well possible. I mean, I don't see any canon breaking reasons why that couldn't happen off the top of my head.
Now, how far away is
he
Mustafar from this? Because if Vader is watching over in supervising the Inquisitors. Do you think that it's like a challenge for him to get there?
Nothing's really a challenge to get around in Star Wars, but I don't think that it's that far. But
do you think that Kenobi could go there? He could be trying to wreak havoc at the Fortress Inquisitorius against the Inquisitors,
or maybe,
and that's what triggers Vader to come into this show, and he comes there and they battle there.
Water.
Yeah, so fight over water
An
instead
inverse of Mustafar. Oh, that'd be awesome.
That would be pretty neat.
But, and I mean, the concept art we have gotten of the battle and even the promotional art has had water on it, so it wouldn't surprise me if it was on there. So,
all right, so let's talk about Vader a little bit more. We see his chest plate has actual needles in it that insert directly into his body, like we saw in his helmet in Revenge of the Sith, where they like insert in there to connect with that. And then we get these iconic Vader sounds. And then there's this moment that when I saw the trailer, every time I've watched the trailer, it feels this way. Kenobi seems to be realizing that Vader is right behind him. I can't imagine that we see Vader and Kenobi duel until the finale of this series. Is the close of this trailer, in your opinion, the moment that he realizes that he's in the presence of his former apprentice?
I mean, I think that's really what we're strongly led to believe, but I feel like it's also clever editing. I want to believe that's the case because there was also, we talked about it, that quote from him in an interview where he's talked about Vader was behind him, and it actually scared the crap out of him.
Yeah, I mean, he says, I've never met Darth Vader. I had rehearsed the scene with Vader, but not with the helmet on or anything like that. When we came to do the scene, when they shouted action, he had to come from behind me. I turned around and Darth Vader was coming at me.
Yeah, that feels very Fallen Order-esque of how that is. It's terrifying. I'm really excited to see how they make Darth Vader in this series. I think we're going to be seeing more of a Rogue One Vader than an original trilogy Vader. Just an absolute force to be reckoned with, intimidating, scary, just mowing down anybody in his path, because that's what Vader is, especially in this time. I do think that I'm not sure if we see a weak Vader. I don't know if we'll see a more rageful Vader against Obi-Wan or a weaker Vader because it's Obi-Wan. I'm wondering how that's going to work out. I think it's either going to be one side or the other. Just an absolute hate-fueled Darth Vader because of what Obi-Wan did to him, or if he has remorse and feels because this was his master, his brother. It's hard.
Anakin's dead. He doesn't care about that at this point. I think it is pure anger right now.
I disagree with both of you guys on that. And I think that
we're going to see normal Vader.
I think that we're going to see a Vader that is struggling in the presence of his master with being Vader. He's feeling this call back to the light.
That's what I was saying. That's what I was saying. The weakness because it's Obi-Wan. Yeah.
I think that this is where I think it's Return of the Jedi, when Obi Wan Kenobi is talking with Luke about Anakin being his father, Darth Vader being his father. And Luke is basically saying, I think there's still good in him. There's still light in him. And maybe it's Yoda or someone else says Obi-Wan Vader. He says it straight. He says, Father, there's still good in you. I sense it. And Vader himself says on Endor, he says, Obi-Wan once thought as you did, as you do.
Right.
I think that moment is going to take place in this, and I think that we're going to see it's going to weaken him to just an extent, and that's probably why there is going to be a drop, because Darth Vader is more powerful than even this version of Ben Kenobi.
Yeah.
And if he wanted to destroy him,
he could have
with it. All right. Well, we'll probably get a few TV spots going forward that have some tiny new characters, I don't know, Vader or something in it. Some other interesting scenes, but I'm hoping that this is about as much as we get before the show premieres at the end of the month. And to think that we're going to actually get to watch it with thousands of other insane fans at Star Wars Celebration is actually really, it's almost too good to be true. With that. All right. Enough Star Wars. Never enough Star Wars. But anyway, an important truth about clickbait. Let's talk movie moments.
No. Bad news. There you go.
Is it bad news?
Yes,
Is that
bad news this time.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'll read the right thing, which is what I was reading anyway. An important truth about clickbait is that it's only needed when legitimate news headlines aren't being generated. So since last week was a big entertainment news week, the clickbait was a little bit less intense. You'll see what I mean next on Bad News.
This is not going to go the way you think.
All right, gentlemen, let's talk about Newsly for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, all right. Let's do it.
All right, so if you're listening and you don't know what Newsly is, I'll explain. It's an all-in-one audio super app for both iOS and Android. And what it does is it picks up web articles about the most trending topics on the web at any given moment, and then it reads them to you in a natural human voice. And so what that means is that really for the first time in the history of the internet, the entire web becomes listenable all in one place.
Yeah, I mean, you're able to browse articles from topics you choose and then start playing. So you can stop scrolling and start listening. You can do other things throughout your day. And you can also follow any topic as specific as you'd like, from sports to science to even Bitcoin or even the best stuff like Star Wars, Marvel, DC whatever.
Especially.
DC. Star Wars.
Lord of the Rings. But it'll find you the latest articles on those topics and read them to you out loud.
And they have great podcasts on there.
They have amazing podcasts on there.
Explore the trending podcasts from over 80 countries, and Tatooine Suns is now on there too. So
I think they're pretty cool.
Have digital radio.
Yeah, Tatooine Suns is one of the featured podcasts on Newsly.
And
it's
definitely worth listening to.
Which is another reason why it has become my default podcast app. You can try it out too, though. We want you to check it out. So download and use Newsly for free now from www.newsly.me, or just go to the link in the description and use the promo code. It's Tatooine Suns, but it's spelled different. So it's TAT001NES0NS.
Just look in the show notes.
Just look in the show notes and copy and paste it. Then go to newsly.me and use it, because all of that effort will mean you will get 1 month free premium subscription. And then when you do that, let us know and tell us what you think.
Well, you want the bad news or the really bad news?
Fans have decided that The Last Jedi is actually a pretty good Star Wars movie after all.
Wow, it's not like we've been saying that one for
I
a while.
honestly wondered if this was article about our episode from last week, because I was like, wow, that was interesting. After nearly 5 years of stoking fanboy hatred for The Last Jedi, We Got This Covered has decided that the controversial film by Rian Johnson is actually pretty good. It references a Reddit thread that has generated quite a bit of activity. The general consensus is that the posters first hated episode 8, but have now come to realize that it's a much better film than they gave it credit for. It even goes so far as to end with a hopeful statement about Rian Johnson's announced Star Wars trilogy, which the site has previously claimed has been scrapped at this point. So clickbait level 5. Not terrible. With it, Samuel?
Yeah, Chris Pratt phones it in on latest Guardians of the Galaxy project.
That's ominous.
While James Gunn may have taken to social media last week to announce the conclusion of filming on the final film in the Guardians of the Galaxy film trilogy, Inside the Magic decided it was a good time to generate some clickbait with a headline about the Guardians ride at Epcot. The article references some tweets about the Q-Line story and Peter Quill's jokes about now defunct Epcot attractions. While that type of humor may or may not work, this headline suggests something more significant about the film franchise. So this one gets a clickbait level 7.
All right. BB Nate.
DC intriguingly brings back Facebook banner featuring Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, and Gal Gadot. EpicStream.com couldn't pass up the chance to generate a clickbait headline for all of the hashtag Restore the Snyderverse supporters out there. With the new leadership at Warner Brothers making changes to the film and TV lineup, EpicStream decided that it must be a big deal when the company changed their Facebook page banner. Last week, the social media team resurrected an image of Henry Cavill's Superman, Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman, and Ben Affleck's Batman. While no announcement was made, the article definitely stoked the fires of Snyderverse fans, which I don't think ever died.
No.
Strong. On a clickbait level of 6.
Yeah. All right. Clickbait was fast this week, but that's okay because Kenobi was long. All right, BB Nate.
That's not me.
No, that's not you.
It's
Sammy. No, I don't know. Who's talking? Somebody else talk.
Yeah.
All right, go.
Well, we were worried that they wouldn't be able to wrap everything up in this finale of Moon Knight. They did. And on top of that, we got to see gods and their avatars fighting at the same time. Oh, yeah. And something we've been predicting from the start happened, actually. So we'll talk about all that and more next.
Be on your guard. There are older and fouler things than orcs in the deep places of the world.
All right, then, keep your secrets.
You're coming to us. Yes, as the footsteps of steps.
There are many magic rings in this world, Bilbo Baggins, and none of them should be used lightly.
Or the Moon Knight finale. Really?
Oh yeah, I was pumped.
What about you, Sam?
Moon Knight.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for Kenobi, but not nearly as much as Ahsoka, and I was just super excited for Moon Knight.
Y'all were just wrong. All right.
I mean, it's just a trailer. We had a whole finale episode.
Yeah, but this is Kenobi. All right.
But it's Moon Knight. All right.
And I get to plan the show. That's why we talked more about that than anything else.
That's true. All right. I want to get y'all's rating of this episode on a scale of 1 to 10. Sharp dressed cone shoes.
It was great. I'm going to give it a 9. I really liked the episode. I thought it was well paced. It had a lot of stuff in it, but it also wrapped up everything we wanted. It was shorter than all of the other episodes, I think. I think it clocked in at 42, 43 minutes, which is super short compared to everything else.
Not the 3 hours that was rumored?
No, sadly not. No? But it still felt very good. The post-credit scene was great. Everything about it was a lot of fun. And I'm happy that Disney Plus keeps calling it the season finale and not series. So I'm super excited to see more. We'll see him by the end of this year, since the Halloween special is Werewolf by Night. So, and Moon Knight is a big part of that comic series, but that's being directed by Michael Giacchino. So I'm not sure how that's going to work.
That's going to be awesome.
But I'm super excited to watch that, and I'm sure we'll get more Moon Knight before the end of the year.
You know the music will be good.
Oh, of course it will.
All right.
Dad?
I'm going to give it an 8.
All right.
I enjoyed it. I really did. I enjoyed the whole series. You know, I mean, I see people talking about this as the greatest thing that Marvel's ever done. I still disagree.
I still think that Loki is the best MCU
I think that Loki is the best MCU show. I'd put WandaVision above Moon Knight, but I put Moon Knight right there after that.
Put Hawkeye at the bottom, so all your opinions are wrong.
I did put Hawkeye and that's not okay. It's like, it's not a bad thing. They're all awesome. I loved every one of them, but I mean, there's 6 of them. Or 5 of them, whatever. You got to rank them. So that's what I did. Yeah, it was good. So
Sam,
I'd give it a 9 or a 9.5. I mean, it was just about everything you could have wanted from this finale. I can't give it a 10 just because it wasn't like blow my mind, but it had everything I wanted for it. So it was great. But this episode kind of starts off with this, and there's this dynamic throughout the whole episode of Mark and Steven, right? Mark leaves the field of reeds and then goes back to save Steven. What were y'all's thoughts on that whole scene there when he's like talking to this stone Steven?
I think it was
stoned Steven?
Stone. Yeah.
Different.
Very different.
I really liked Colorado. Okay.
I really did. I thought it was a cool scene. It was Mark finally accepting Steven as a part of him and not a scapegoat. But I really did enjoy the whole dynamic there. I thought his speech to Steven was fun. And then Steven saying that you talked for a while and all that stuff. And it was fun. It played out well. And I really enjoyed that whole sequence to put them back into that role and change how it's going to be in the future. So
yeah, it was a good moment to kind of get that part of the show resolved and move quickly into what had to happen next. With it was a sacrificial moment for Mark, and that sacrifice, Steven's sacrifice saved Mark in the last episode. Mark's sacrifice saved Steven and then eventually Mark himself in this episode. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that Mark, it was a really touching moment, when they grab hands and they both turn to sand and stuff. And it's not like you think that Mark knows what's going to happen next. Right. He knows he's sacrificing his life, but he's not willing to leave without Steven. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was pretty awesome.
Yeah. So it's like what he didn't do for his brother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
He was redeeming himself for that. But, and then throughout the episode, we see them they're kind of like they're tag teaming it with the body now.
Yeah.
They switch out a lot more when they're talking to Khonshu and stuff, and even when they were fighting Arthur, they were switching, which was cool. And we saw the batons and the cool gadgets with the grappling hook and all that. But what did y'all think about this whole new dynamic? It's like you got two characters for the price of one.
Well, it's a lot more comic book true, because in the comics they switch back and forth between the personalities constantly with it. So that made it a lot of fun, and it was neat to see them. You know, it is a tag team on this. You know, and when you needed Steven's version of the character, you know, the superhero Moon Knight to come out, he was. When you needed Mark's version to come out, he was. And it was, you know, Mr. Knight versus Moon Knight or whatever. It was a lot of fun to see them go back and forth.
I agree. I'm super excited to see how this turns out. They're basically one person now. They don't have to go through this whole phase change thing anymore. And they're just having conversations with each other. And, I really like the new vibe it gave off. It was a lot more fun. It wasn't as serious of a tone. They were having a lot more fun with it, especially Steven when they're negotiating with Khonshu.
Yeah, he's really
picked
up the Mr. Knight.
He definitely did, and I really like that. I'm super excited to see how this turns out.
I kind of wish they didn't do what they did with the Taskmaster character in Black Widow, because I wonder how Taskmaster would handle fighting someone like Moon Knight. Because it's constantly switching back and forth between two completely different fighting styles. So I think that would be interesting. Anyway, so now that they're we see at the end of this episode, well, before the end credit scene, which we'll talk about later, but at the end of this episode, they both wake up in the apartment where they were before, and there's actually two fish in the tank, which is funny. But, they're kind of living life together at this point. What happened? What do they do now? Like, whose life do they live? Like, what do you guys think this looks like?
I'm sure one's more stable, but I think that's Steven's right now. He has a job.
Does he?
He got fired.
No, he got fired.
That's right. He did get fired. So I guess they just figure it out from there. I'm sure that'll be, if they have a next season, that'll be kind of what the first episode's telling. And then I'm sure that they'll learn a little bit more about Jake and throughout that episode and towards the end. So I'm super interested on how they do that. I think it'll be really weird to see them now, like just the same person, how they're going to deal with that, but I'm super excited.
Wasn't he tied to the bed again?
He was.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense to me.
It might just be a nightly habit for Steven at this point.
I just don't. That's the part that
no. I think it's
really
because
throws
they still know that something's up. I think that they understand that
they sense that there's a third.
Something happened in this episode before they were about to be killed by Arthur. That they both blacked out, and they've understood that since episode 3 that there's something weird going on.
That's true.
So they might just still be worried about it.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
And then another really neat moment in this episode that everybody's still talking about. In order to save Mark and to free Khonshu, Layla has to become the temporary avatar for Taweret, which was a weird scene, seeing her talk with Taweret. But and then she's got this cool suit. She's kind of like Falcon, but not. But do you guys think that she's going to stay as the avatar for Taweret?
Yeah, absolutely, because Disney has been putting out images of her and posts on social media about the Scarlet Scarab.
Yeah. Even like whole TV spots now of her.
They've set that up going into a season 2.
Mm-hmm.
She's definitely going to continue to do that. And I don't think it's going to be the same relationship with Taweret. Is that it?
I think so.
Yes, that's her.
I don't think it's going to be the same as Mark and Steven have with Khonshu.
Because Taweret is like a better
I think it's going to be an agreed relationship with that, which I think makes it an interesting way to move things forward. And I think she's going to be a lot of fun. And I know that they haven't connected this series with any of the other storylines in the MCU. If we can find a way to have some kind of a battle where Scarlet Scarab and the new Captain America with used to be Falcon, they're battling something together with that. That would be a lot of fun.
Nate, what did you think about this?
I'm super happy that they did this. It was a lot of fun. I'm so excited to see more of her. I thought she was really cool. in this episode. She definitely took to it really fast, though. But
I'm sure Tower was helping too.
I'm not going to question it, but I really liked her power set. And
Steven took to being Mr. Knight pretty quick.
Well, because
too.
Mark was already trained, and they explained that. So, but I mean, I'm super excited to see more of her, especially in season 2, and maybe, you know, with Falcon or the new Captain America, and just a lot of stuff. I'm super interested.
Yeah. So now, do you think Mark and or Steven get back with Layla now?
I don't know.
Like, how does that all work?
I think it could happen now that Layla understands what Mark was going through, but I don't know how that would work now with the same two personalities.
Is this like a polygamous marriage?
It's
is it
weird,
an open
is
marriage?
What it is. So I hope they don't go down that path in a weird way.
Like Loki with Sylvie?
Yeah. I mean, that would be strange with it. It's funny. It would be hilarious if Layla ends up connecting with Steven and will only interact romantically when it's Steven and it's not Mark anymore.
They still need to file the divorce papers.
Like they get divorced and then she marries Steven.
That would be so.
So every time weird. Mark takes over the body, he has to take the ring off.
I don't know. It's weird.
Maybe they just don't go that route.
I hope not.
And then the big moment there at the end. Well, the whole reason Mark and Steven they think they're on their own now is because they renounced Khonshu and they think that they're out from under his control now. Mm-hmm. But we learn that that's not the case. He's just hiding it from Mark and Steven. And there's this third personality that's been here all along, which we've been guessing and we've been seeing inklings of it throughout the series. But Khonshu kind of brings Jake in. It is Jake Lockley. We know that now. He's a Hispanic limo driver instead of a cabbie.
Instead of a Brooklyn cab driver.
But in one of the comics, he actually drives a limo, looks identical to the one in this with the same license plate, the Spectre plate.
That's cool.
But then Jake, with no remorse, just shoots Arthur right there.
Loved it.
So clearly things are a little bit different, but what are your initial thoughts on this take of Jake?
I love it. I was so happy that they brought this in because I was really worried that they weren't going to. And then I heard that there was a post-credit scene and they didn't bring it in the main episode. I'm like, okay, they're going to bring in Jake here. But I was super worried when Mark and Steven renounced him, how Moon Knight was still going to be there. And then Khonshu explained that he's been trying to get to Jake the entire time.
It wasn't Layla he was going after.
It was Jake. And so when he renounced him, it could be just Jake that he had the Moon Knight powers. And so I'm really, really happy that they did that. And I cannot wait for more Jake. And I can't wait for Mark and Steven to start to try to figure out that Jake is a thing and that they still have these Moon Knight abilities in their system, I guess. And I really want to see Jake's costume, his version of the Moon Knight suit, because, you know, Mark has.
Do we know if it's different in the comics?
I'm not sure, but I'm sure that it would be because Steven has Mr. Knight. Mark has Moon Knight, and to differentiate it when they're fighting, it could be better. I don't know. I think it would be more of a more damaged suit, most likely.
Maybe. Yeah, it was a cool moment with that. And, you know, I mean, it was obviously just it's been set up throughout the entire series, but for them to throw that in at the end, it pretty much confirms that they have to be having a season 2,
right,
to keep the story moving forward. And they were planning on it all along.
I think that if they do a season 2, they have to start connecting it a little bit more with the MCU. So that
I agree.
See how he fits into it, because we're needing that.
Maybe the Halloween special that you're talking about will end up doing that to some extent, and maybe bring in some Strange or something like that. Get some horror in there.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Anyway,
I always love more Strange.
But you kind of touched on this, Nate. But if you think about it, Mark and Steven are in Steven's position when the beginning of this series, right? They know something's up, kind of, but they're not sure what. They don't realize that they have these powers. It's the same thing over. So you kind of touched on this, but what happens now? It's just them trying to is it just a rehash of the first season?
No, I think it's going to be different now that they're both together. Now they have more understanding of the personalities, and they understand that when they black out, there is another personality taking over. And they will see the signs of Moon Knight or Khonshu's work in this situation. So they're going to try to be, I think it'll be more of a mystery thriller, I guess, is what we're talking about for the second season, of them trying to find Jake in their own psyche. and how the lengths they'll go to find that. So,
yeah, what if they do bring in Doctor Strange and he like
figure it out,
does like an astral projection in 3 bodies?
Oh, that would be cool.
Because the whole world knows Strange is a superhero now, and he can do a ton of stuff. They all understand that. We found that on Multiverse of Madness. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Mark and Steven go to Strange to get some advice on what to do. Or they go to the London Sanctum to figure that out, because they are in London.
Yeah, I do think that next they have to start connecting this story. This is the MCU with it. And as much as they wanted to keep this story contained in its own story and not connect it to that,
I think that's good for an origin story.
It was good for that. It has to move forward.
Yeah.
And it has to connect into the MCU, which is going to be a lot of fun, because you're going to have things like, Benedict Cumberbatch, and you're going to have Oscar Isaac, and you're going to have a whole new group of these people coming together with it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Cool. So.
Yeah, well, this series honestly surprised me by becoming my favorite MCU show in no time. And I can't wait to see what more they have in store for this character. Now all we got to do is wait.
I know, we have no idea.
Right.
Well, October, I guess.
We're hoping.
I'm sure.
Right. So now is the time to do bad news?
Yeah,
no, we did that. No, it's movie moments. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. One of the worst movies of the 1980s is set to be rebooted, only to become one of the worst movies of the 2020s.
Nice.
And The Batman has been dethroned at the 2022 box office. That's up next on Movie Moments.
At last we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last we will have revenge.
One new release this week, Firestarter. I thought this was an X-Men movie when I saw it for the first time.
No.
But it is,
seriously, we need Xavier to show up.
Right. The description: for more than a decade, parents Andy and Vicky have been on the run, desperate to hide their daughter Charlie from a shadowy federal agency that wants to harness her unprecedented gift for creating fire into a weapon of mass destruction. Again, this just sounds like X-Men. Andy has taught Charlie how to diffuse her power, which is triggered by anger or pain. It sounds like Killer Frost. But as Charlie turns 11, the fire becomes harder and harder to control. After an incident reveals the family's location, a mysterious operative is deployed to hunt down the family and seize Charlie once and for all. Charlie has other plans. So this is Logan, kind of. This sounds a lot like Logan.
Yeah, it's all just trying to figure out what it is.
It's just a grab bag of really weird superhero stuff.
Right.
The director is Keith Thomas. The cast is Zac Efron and Ryan Kira Armstrong. The studio is Universal. It is rated R for just violent content. That's a short rating. Are we going to this?
No, because it looks dumb.
Nope. It looks really bad. Like really, really bad. For
really
trailers this week, we've had a few since we didn't have any last week. Avatar, The Way of Water.
That gave us nothing.
It gave us nothing. The CGI looks fine, good enough.
It doesn't look much different.
But I'm gonna be honest. And I said this right after the trailer. This just looks like the Planet of the Apes trilogy, or War for the Planet of the Apes. Yeah. It looks exactly like that, and I'm sure it's that War for the Planet of the Apes is better, because those movies are great. Next, Jurassic World Dominion. That new trailer was good. Really good. It looks like a lot of fun. I cannot wait to see this, especially in IMAX. It's going to be so much fun. And then this next one, Weird, the Al Yankovic story.
I have not seen this trailer yet.
The trailer didn't give us much of anything, except that this vibe is going to be more serious than expected.
Really?
Yeah,
it's going to be a serious biopic.
Did you see it? Did you see the trailer?
But I knew that was going to be the tone.
But it is going to be a serious biopic of Weird Al Yankovic and how he had to rise up in this industry. But it, of course, will have the classic funny moments that he's known for.
And isn't it who Daniel Radcliffe is playing it? And
he does the fantastic job from the trailer is what I saw.
Really?
He looks exactly like him.
I'll see it when it comes out.
BB-8 wants to avoid this next part because of box office results.
I really don't care. Doctor Strange 2, because it's Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange 2 made 185 million domestic, which a grand total worldwide of 450 million. That's fantastic.
So the two biggest movies of this year are your two favorite superheroes.
I know. It's wonderful.
And the biggest movie of last year was your other favorite superhero, Spider-Man.
Yeah, so it's been great so far. But that is very impressive box office intake for the first weekend. So congratulations, Marvel. You did it again. At least it wasn't like Eternals. This next one, The Bad Guys. Surprisingly, with 9 million domestic and a total sum of 148 million worldwide. Not terrible. Sonic the Hedgehog 2. still has some legs in this race. 6 million domestic. That was good.
Terrible.
That was good. Okay. 6 million domestic with a grand total of 349 million worldwide.
It took me a second. I was wondering, why did he say that? And then I'm like, oh, jeez.
That was really good. It took a little bit.
It was so good. Yes.
It was
good job, Nate.
It was really good. Why don't you keep going?
Yes.
All right.
Well, Doctor Strange 2 was certainly interesting. It gave us a ton to talk about and didn't even let us breathe during the movie. So let's just get into it.
Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Yeah, I can fly.
I'm here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
The people in this room, which one is A, wearing a spangly outfit, and B, not of use?
There's only one God, man. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like that.
Batman has no limits.
So, like the nerds we listened to the soundtrack on the way up to the theater for this movie,
right?
And we got to this track. Nate and I had heard it before, but Dad hadn't. It's was it Lethal Symphonies, and it's got like little motifs from classical music pieces,
Beethoven,
and we're like, where the heck are they going to put this in the movie?
I was like, am I really listening to this? When we were driving,
and we were completely confused as to how they were going to bring that in. And then that scene,
it was awesome,
it was so cool.
It was probably, I mean, there was a lot of cool moments in this, but it's probably my favorite scene in the entire movie.
It's so unique.
It is
almost my favorite scene in the entire musical, but it's not a musical.
The music battle.
It was the music battle.
It was
great.
Cool. It felt out of place, but good enough for Doctor Strange.
It felt like part of a comic book.
It did feel like a part of a comic book. It was great. So what is y'all's rating of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness on a scale of 1 to 10 strangely powerful books?
I'll give it a 9 as well.
Wow. Okay,
I really liked it. It was a lot of fun. It didn't stop. It was great from start to finish. Really, again, just like the Moon Knight trailer or Moon Knight finale, I didn't want anything more from it. It was exactly what I could have wanted from that movie.
Dad?
So
it was an 8, but not because I didn't love every moment of it.
But
it was just
it's hard for you to give a 9.
It didn't move the story of the MCU any further. It wasn't supposed to. Like I said afterwards, I don't know if I told you guys this, but I said it, I know on Twitter because somebody was asking. I feel like this was the perfect movie to follow up No Way Home in the MCU because it was a pretty much self-contained story.
Pretty much, yeah.
And it allowed, they had multiverse stuff in it. They had big cameos in it. I know we'll talk about that in a little bit, but it wasn't trying to replicate No Way Home and Endgame and all of that. And it was fun. I mean, No Way Home, Endgame, those get me those get 9s from me. This one was a great 8.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
You?
I don't know. It's really hard for me to give a rating on this movie.
Really?
I really liked it. I really did. But I feel like there were some moments where it just really fell flat.
Okay.
I do. I think that
I'm curious about this now.
It focused too much on telling an emotional story for Wanda that it forgot that Doctor Strange had to have a character arc. It forgot that. I really do think. I think that we started this movie trying to set up an emotional story of Doctor Strange finding happiness in this world, but we didn't get any satisfaction at the ending with that. But they focused a lot on figuring out Wanda and her arc and that stuff. And that was where I went in with. And it was kind of confirmed towards the end and stuff. I, of course, loved everything they did with Wanda in this movie. I thought it was great to make her the villain, and I thought it was a lot of fun to see her in that role. But I do feel like they forgot that Doctor Strange has to have an emotional story in this movie.
That's fair.
And that's what made the first one so good, was the telling of him coming back from the injury with his hands and figuring out that even though he could just leave and not be a sorcerer anymore and just use the magic to heal his hands, he understands that there is more that he's called to be a better and a bigger sorcerer for this world. And so I feel like we didn't get any of that in this movie though. So I'm going to give it a 7.5 or an 8.
Okay.
I still really liked it though, and I really loved it. But of course, Doctor Strange will always be a 10 for me because
this is why BB Nate is the smartest one of the two of us. He is a much more critical thinker.
Yeah.
When it comes to these things than us, we're like, that was just fun. That was awesome. And he's like really thinking about the story and stuff like that.
It's his character.
It is. I get that. So.
I also felt like America Chavez was a little off.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, we will talk about that a little bit though. But let's actually talk about 3 big questions and a couple big moments in Doctor Strange 2 and after Doctor Strange 2. The first one, is Wanda actually dead? That ending seemed to put Wanda down for good, especially since a big blast of her power went out after the mountain crushed her. But then again, she could be alive without us knowing. She did do some twisted stuff in this movie, so I wouldn't put it past her. But I'm wondering, do you think she transported or teleported? She doesn't have the power to travel in the multiverse. She didn't take America's power. She doesn't have the capability to do that normally. Where would she go? And that mountain was heavy, and it's not like she has invincibility in any ways, and her power did blast out. So, Dad, do you think she's actually dead?
No. Because they want to make more stories with Wanda.
Of course. She makes money.
Yeah. And so there's no way they spent this entire movie making her the anti-hero that she's now become. I think that they brought her full villain.
Yeah.
And then brought her back in this in order to make her an anti-hero going forward. And they've got big plans for her. I don't know if it's another series or if it's a movie, a standalone movie. I think it probably is her own standalone movie. So. Maybe they'll actually have Doctor Strange in that one and he can cameo and take over that movie.
That'd be great. No, because they like Wanda too much to do that.
That's funny.
It's true though. But Sammy, wow, I haven't called you Sammy in a long time. What did you think of her character in this movie?
I thought it was good. I guess that's one little complaint I have is she kind of jumped to bad real quick, but then again, we haven't seen what she's been doing since WandaVision.
We got that vibe in the post-credits scene from WandaVision that she was starting to take anything it could do to find Billy and Tommy with the Darkhold. Her projecting a good version of herself just to take more time to look at the Darkhold. So we saw that, and we did see in WandaVision that she was going to any lengths to have a family. So I think that it felt right in ways. Yeah, Dad, what did you think of her character?
No, I think that you're right that they tried to set this up in the end of WandaVision. I think it was jarring. The second time I watched it, it made more sense to me with it because I knew it was coming. It just started so fast down that path that it was like, oh my gosh.
The whole movie started very fast.
It did. With that, I think that she played a great villain.
I agree.
She did a great job as a villain. She really did. I'm excited to see more of Wanda if she's still alive. But
also I think that's a reason why I think she's not dead. They need someone as powerful as her for the coming war, whatever that might be.
Whatever Avengers 5 would be, if it's an Avengers 5. So let's talk next.
It's Secret Wars.
Secret Wars, most likely.
Yeah.
So what is next for America Chavez? This movie revolved around America and her powers, so what will be her next step? She is training at Carmitage with the other sorcerers, but she isn't doing the best at it. She's making some sparks, in her own words. So Sam, what is next for America? Young Avengers, maybe?
Yeah, I think they've been setting that up for a bit with all these other young characters that have been up and coming. I don't understand why she even needs to train to become a sorcerer. She's got the power to go across the multiverse. Why aren't they honing those abilities?
I think they are, but they're also wanting to train her to do that too, because she could be insanely powerful if she became a sorcerer and have multiverse powers. That would be crazy.
Also, where's Ned? Why isn't he training? They've got this chick doing it, but Ned figured out how to open up a portal in no time. I'm just saying.
I don't know if Ned remembers that though.
Yeah, he might not remember that whole thing.
That's a good point. But yeah, no, I agree. I think that they've been setting up a Young Avengers story for a little while now. So I think that's what's next.
Yeah. Dad, what did you think of America and her being the driving force behind this movie?
She was a fine character. She was an inconsequential character as far as she was the MacGuffin.
She was.
Yep.
She was a plot device.
She was a plot device. And I think that's disappointing because I think a lot of people love this character. Mm-hmm. She's very popular in the comics. And I think people were looking for this to be more than that. And I think I haven't wasted my time reading a bunch of the criticisms of this movie, and they're all over right now. But I could see why that would be a criticism of this movie, because you know, you have a character that people had so much hope to see, and she wasn't really that important. I mean, she was important, about as much as important as the map to Luke Skywalker in The Force Awakens.
Yeah, just about.
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean, that's the way it felt to me watching it. So that was a disappointing part of this movie to me.
It was, yeah. I felt like they had a hard time trying to tell emotional stories with anybody but Wanda in this movie, even with the memory lane scene that they had. But we got to talk about a couple things next. First, the Illuminati showed up. We had a couple surprises, a couple not surprises, but they weren't big, like Maria Rambeau as Captain Marvel.
No, I don't think anybody was really shocked by that one.
I was kind of like, oh, yay. I mean, we knew that Captain Carter was coming in. It was cool to see Haley Atwell.
It was cool to see
cool.
Live action costume.
Then we got Black Bolt with the actor from the Inhuman series.
Shocking.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was good.
I heard that he was good.
Shocking Black Bolt.
He has nothing to do with
He's like a lightning bolt on his shirt.
It fell flat because that's not his power, though.
Yeah,
it would feel better if he was like lightning.
Black Bolt.
But I heard he was a good part of the Inhuman series that was canceled.
Probably the part that people liked the most. So they thought about bringing him back.
He did a fine job in this movie.
He was a fun character.
The 2 minutes he was in.
I've always loved that character.
I have too.
And we already knew that Lockjaw was an MCU canon character. I think he was mentioned at one point earlier in the series. I don't remember when though. I just remember hearing about it. But and then we got Professor X, Charles Xavier, with his amazing.
We all knew it was coming.
His cool powers that he had.
That was
the waves. That was
Marvel.
awesome.
The theme.
The Marvel animated series, X-Men series.
We're going to be getting something more of him.
He was in this. I mean, we saw the chair in the trailers. He's wearing the green suit and the exact tie.
It's the same thing.
And then the waves of his mind waves.
And when he goes into the head of Wanda to try to get the.
And of course, you brought it up, but again, the theme was playing as he came in.
It was great. That was a lot of fun. I'm not sure if
there wasn't anything else.
No. Oh, wait. We forgot. Reed Richards showed up. Mr. Fantastic with the one fan cast that has been there for years. John Krasinski playing Reed Richards.
We were like there was maybe 25, 30 people in the theater when we first saw this movie Thursday night.
Yeah.
Cause it's the Wharf is a terrible place to go see a Marvel movie, on opening night. But anyway, we were there and we're like sitting in the front row cheering, the three of us, and everybody else is kind of like, what are they getting so excited about? We were losing our minds. The next day in the theater with IMAX packed in Pensacola.
Literal cheers.
Was just going nuts.
It was crazy. And now, John Krasinski did come out in an interview not years ago, but a few months ago saying that he would love to play Reed Richards. He obviously is. Yeah. And he would love to direct a Marvel movie.
And now that John Watts is gone, I think that John Krasinski's playing.
I think so.
That would be so good.
Everything he's directed, he's been an actor-director with the Quiet Place movies, and he's done a fantastic job. Both of those movies are great. And so he obviously can do it. I cannot wait to see more of this because it was a great casting choice.
Yeah, but what happened they're all dead.
They're all dead.
It reminds me of that scene in the first Mission Impossible where Tom Cruise is like, they're dead. They're dead. They're all dead. That's what I was feeling at the end of that scene.
You got to remember first this movie and Loki, these are just variants. This is all from this universe. There are countless other universes, including Earth 616, which was awesome.
Yeah, that was great.
They did that. But we haven't seen these characters in Earth 616 yet. They could easily bring them in, no problem. I think this is more just to kind of establish, hey, these characters exist and they're being played by this person, you know?
Yeah, it was crazy, and I cannot wait to see more of them.
Yeah,
I really do.
It was awesome.
But we should talk about that ending of the movie. Doctor Strange just collapses in the street out of pain. He was super happy, just going on about his day. Fixed his watch.
Had the nice flannel shirt.
And then a third eye opens and he's screaming out of pain, and so many weird things happened. I don't know what this ending was. Dad, What the heck was that ending, and what do you think it means?
I have no idea.
Since the Darkhold is destroyed in every universe,
it's destroyed. Okay, so I think that he's impacted. He's they said this multiple times in the film. The Darkhold
takes a toll on its user.
Exactly, and so I think that that's what's happened. But at the same time, it's not going to go down the path that we see with what was the other Strange,
Sinister Strange.
Yeah, he was in this, right?
Yeah, he was.
Yes.
He was the one that used it for all those things, made the incursion, fought with, music notes, which is really cool.
Yeah. So I think that he's not going to go down the path of that or the path of,
he can't now,
of the Strange in Earth 838.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
With that, so he doesn't have that issue anymore.
Which clean shaven Strange is not a good
It didn't
look.
look right.
That's not the way to go.
It didn't look right at all. But anyway, so I think that it was terrifying and something is going on internally in that moment. But then when you get to the post credits or the end credit scene, mid credit, it was the mid credit, the mid credit scene, you could tell that this isn't an issue for him anymore.
Yeah,
so.
he's fully proud of it. So, and speaking of post credit scene, we see Strange walking down the street when a woman appears in front of him and says that he needs to fix an incursion. That woman is Clea, who eventually becomes Strange's wife in the comics. She is a sorcerer, the sorceress supreme of the dark dimension, which is crazy.
She's got
There's
a
lot
knife that can cut through the fabric of reality, too.
Which is crazy. She's going to be a really interesting character, and it seems like Doctor Strange, who has his cloak of levitation, become his scarf now, which is awesome.
A good look.
It is.
And he's got the eye still.
He still has the eye. He's proud of the eye, apparently, which I think was a reference to the first Doctor Strange movie when the Ancient One is talking about opening your eye, and she hits her thumb right on that exact spot.
Well, and isn't that like a Buddhist term or something? Your third eye, opening your third eye.
Hindu or something
his
like that.
His third eye is fully open. I think he's reached full power now if there is places to go. And as the Illuminati said, that the one that they should be worried about, the most powerful being, is actually Doctor Strange, and apparently not Scarlet Witch. So.
Where do you think this goes as a result of them saying those types of things in this movie, BB Nate? What do you, as a Doctor Strange fan, how does it make you feel that they're making those kinds of statements about him going forward? Do you think that
him being super powerful,
or the most powerful,
I like it. I think it increases his importance in the MCU. He was already important, but I do think we see more of him now, especially as like an anchor point for the MCU. I think that is something they established in this movie. He is a big part of this universe now. I think that we see him, I guess, fully happy now with his power, and grateful for it. I guess is like what we can say from Wong at the end of the movie. I do think we see a lot of him, using different types of power now, different, tapping more into the multiverse, because we know that his power comes from the multiverse that was mentioned in the first movie. So him tapping into different areas of that to increase his power to becoming that. Do we see him teetering the edge of villain to hero? I don't think so. I think that they established in this movie that he is a hero 100%, no matter what. He wouldn't personally kill Wanda. He wouldn't take America's power, which was something that he could have done. He has done everything he can to make heroic sacrifices. And he even mentioned at the beginning with the doctor, at Christine's wedding that was the only option to do, the people dying. And if there was another option, he would have taken it. So, I think people are going to confused by that because of Thanos and the whole 838 Earth and how he was sacrificed there. But I think that we see a lot more of Strange understanding his power more now, because he understands that we don't have a Book of Ishati anymore, and we don't have a Darkhold anymore. So we're going to be seeing a lot more of, I think, darker magic coming to fruition, because there's no book to defeat that now. So I'm really interested in seeing more of Doctor Strange, of course. But speaking of the post-credit scene, Sam, what do you think this means for the next Doctor Strange movie, or I guess the next story for Doctor Strange?
Clea and all that? Is that what you're talking about?
I have no idea. I mean, I'm still sort of confused about that character in the first place, but I think we talked about it in the car and we came up with a really good idea, but I can't remember what it is off the top.
There's, I think that what we mentioned was they used that phrase incursions multiple times. And in the comic books, the incursions set up They were a major part of Secret Wars in the comics.
The Battle World.
Exactly. And so I think that that's where they're ending up taking this, that I think that your next Avengers
is going to be
film. It's a Secret Wars film. I don't think they'll call it an Avengers film because even Kevin Feige has said that kind of thing is done. But that big, massive, ending of a phase type story, that is what we're going to get. And I'm all for it because that's a fun storyline.
Do you think they go old Secret Wars or new Secret Wars?
I hope
they
old.
redid it. You think old?
I hope so.
But then if they did new, it would bring in Doctor Doom a lot because he was.
They could still do that though.
Secret Wars, and then that would lead into Fantastic Four a little bit better.
Maybe.
I don't know. I am super excited to see what they do with this. I cannot wait. And Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness did not disappoint at all, and I was satisfied, and I cannot wait to see what is in store for Doctor Strange in the future here.
That's awesome.
It's going to be fun.
Good job, baby Nate.
Thanks.
Good job.
All right. I forgot to do my dad moment, so I should do it.
Might as well.
I am your father.
So as we saw in the WandaVision series and in the Doctor Strange episode of What If, obsession is destructive. Just as Wanda became obsessed with bringing Vision back, she's now become obsessed with not only being with her children, but doing whatever it takes to protect them from any possible harm. This is actually the whole reason she wants America Chavez's power. She says that if they get some type of sickness, there must be a cure for it somewhere in the multiverse. So she needs to be able to travel the multiverse, like America Chavez does, in order to find it. And as a dad, I completely understand the desire to protect my kids. But this just isn't reality. Sickness, injury, and tragedy are all a part of life. And if Billy and Tommy, never experience those things, then they're living in another fairy tale existence that's even less real than Westview was in WandaVision.
That's a good point. Thanks.
So. All right. I think now we can move on.
I think so.
So good job, BB Nate.
Thanks.
Good job, Nate.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
Anything else?
Yeah, there was a new Ms. Marvel trailer, and it shows off her wild cosmic powers.
Yeah, a lot of people are like, this is not the same as the comic books.
No,
not at all.
Which is weird because if it was, then they could have brought in Black Bolt since he's a keeper of
Maybe
the
they're going
Terrigen
to
Mist.
anyway. This is
He's
true.
He's a keeper of the Terrigen Mist.
It could happen.
I don't know.
We'll
It
see.
could. Yes. This Batman Unburied audio drama dethrones Joe Rogan as Spotify's #1 podcast.
That's huge.
Dang.
Yes, I'm really wanting to listen to it. I just got to find the time to sit down and actually listen to the whole thing. But it has become the most shared episode of any Spotify podcast, I think, of all time.
Wow.
So it is crazy. People are really loving
I need
it.
to listen to this thing.
I know.
Yeah,
right?
check it out. I was going to talk about something else, but I'm going to mention today is Rosario, as we're recording this, Monday evening.
Yes.
It's Rosario Dawson's birthday.
Happy birthday.
And it's also the day that they began production on Ahsoka.
That's great birthday present for me. You got the hat on the chair. I was pumped. That was a great
That was cool.
set photo. And I'm going to zoom into the back because there's some frames of some of the filming that they're doing. So
cool.
Try to figure that out.
We'll have to play with that.
Yes.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this week. Make sure you check out Newsly and their app that will allow you to not only listen to amazing podcasts like this, but
we're amazing now.
We are. Hey, I think we're amazing. But nobody else does, but that's okay. But yeah, check it out and all the audio content that they have on there. It's fantastic. If you're going to be at Star Wars Celebration, I think we may have just gotten a text, by the way, during the show, telling us, there's 3 FedEx packages coming from the same location, to our home, on the 11th.
Goodness, they're cutting it close.
Jeez.
I think that those are our badges. Let's hope so. But we're going to be at Celebration, and make sure you check out that virtual Cantina meetup on the 25th at Biggs Fullerton. Can't wait to talk about that, and see so many of you guys there at that as well. And I think that'll do it. Thanks for listening to Tatooine Sons, a pop culture podcast.
If you had a good time listening, it would be awesome if you could share this with your friends.
Even if you had a bad time, you could share it.
Yeah, I mean,
awesome.
if you want them to suffer too.
That's right. Misery loves company. So.
And if you want more suffering, remember, the show is only a small part of the Tatooine Sons world. So be sure to like us on Facebook and join our Facebook discussion group, and follow us on Twitter to get in on all of the action. And you can keep up to date with everything we've got going on over there at TatooineSons.com.
Yeah. And don't forget to follow the show on your favorite podcast app or Newsly or whatever other app you want to listen to it on. We like Newsly. They're pretty awesome. So you don't miss our next episode, and give us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever podcast app you prefer.
Yes.
Is that it?
I think so.
Anything else you guys like to say?
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you, always.
This party's over.
I like that Wookiee.
Don't get technical with me.
Joy, please.
Yep, yep.